So here is the next guy who thought 3 weeks ago, 5 or whatever it was, 3 months ago, I've got to reform myself because times are changing. And who is now, he's, I mean, could he admit this anymore, that he is reverting back to form? He is trying to make amends by referring to the blackboard. I mean, this is like Batman hanging up the mask and saying, like, I'm no longer doing this. But
Wait,
then,
do you think that Glenn Beck has an imaginary butler in his head who advises him?
I think
It's time to bring back the blackboard, sir.
Imaginary White House staff.
Dude, yeah, exactly. Here is Glenn Beck, sadly having to report that the blackboard is going to have to come back.
I'm afraid tomorrow I have to go back to my chalkboard. We've been working on it this weekend. We're going to give you some of the connections. We're going to talk to the woman who wrote that article for the New York Times about the connections to George Soros and to radical Islam, and have a talk with her.
Pause it.
Tomorrow.
He's talking about the Women's March. And he's going to have to break out the chalkboard to explain to you how you get from the Women's March to radical Islam, which is so pro-women marching for their own empowerment. And it's going to take a chalkboard.
With her. Tomorrow I'm bringing the chalkboard in because the connections are there. And if you want to call me a conspiracy theorist again, you can. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything. I'm just going to point out the facts. Because somebody has to. And perhaps someone in the media will listen. I don't know if they will.
Maybe Samantha Bee will have you back on for a funny interview.
Yeah, maybe you guys can do cupcakes and go over the chalkboard. But what they're going to do...
You know who's sitting there going, Bob Garfield right now is going like, mic drop.
Bob Garfield, everybody should honestly, like, if they're on social media, just tweet him a thank you. It was a brilliant interview.
You were right.
He was, I mean, but it was, I mean, it's almost, it's sort of like the bigotry of low expectations that he gets so much credit for that. But it was a great interview. But what they're going to do is they're going to target a woman named Linda Sarsour, who is a Palestinian and Muslim human rights activist based in New York. She was an advisor to Bernie. And she and I think Angela Davis, too, they both correctly drew links. I mean, for her, explicitly, she said, look, some of these policies that we're going to be resisting the Trump age were happening under Obama. There's Muslim civil liberties issues. And then Angela Davis actually specifically connected Gaza and the West Bank to the kind of broader struggle for human rights. So those will be who he targets.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Over. Subscribe.